There are 3 key steps to installing Julia on your computer. Step 1, download and install the Julia package from the Julia website. Step 2, download and install Atom from the Atom website. And step 3, install Juno inside Atom. Installing Juno inside Atom will set up Julia as well on your computer. All those registry things will register themselves, and hopefully you avoid the blockage that happened to me. If you'd like to see more in this video, I'll run through all those steps that I took, including how to avoid that blockage or how to recover from Julia being stuck as you're trying to use it for the first time. So stick around and I'll go through all of those steps. So the first thing I've done is open up Google and search for Julia. Julia language is the first thing that comes up. So we'll click on the link. Let's see what happens. Let's download the latest version. And which version are we looking for? I have a 64-bit machine, so let's download that. Save this. While that's downloading, I'm starting this video series to share my experiences learning the new Julia language and hopefully inspire some fellow YouTubers to learn along as well, and hopefully we can build some great projects together. I'm doing this from scratch without any knowledge of the language, so follow along below to see all the mistakes, all the hiccups that I make, and all the things that can go wrong when learning a new language, but also some of the things that can go right. Hopefully Julia looks like a great language for data analysis, which is something I'm looking to learn. So follow along and hopefully we can have a good journey together. So let's finish downloading. Let's open it up. If you have any questions about the sort of setup that I'm using, drop a comment below and I'll try to reply to everyone to really help get you started on this journey as well. So you can see my name's Chris and I'm going to install Julia where it's recommended. Yeah, okay, I'll install there. Install where it's recommended. There's a few things that come along. Yeah, so I'm Chris the engineer. Nice to meet you all. And looks pretty standard so far. Progress bar coming along nicely. And now I don't know too much about the Julia syntax, so maybe that's something we should take a look at now. We can go, actually, let's go back to here and open up the documentation, see what it has to say. Yeah, open up the documentation. Because the first thing after installing a new programming language is to, we can run Julia, is to try a Hello World program. So what happens when we run Julia? Oh, excellent, a prompt comes up. Because I was told that, I believe Juno is the editor that we should be using. I've also got Visual Studio Code on this computer. So so now we've got the Julia prompt open. Let's try what it recommends and press question mark. Help. Oh, okay, excellent. Now what sort of language is it? What if we try a print command? Print is a function. Print hello world. Error. Okay, so that's not how you print in Julia. Let's look up some of the language. So the first thing to do after installing a programming language is to try out a hello world to make sure that everything's going okay. And also to print the version, actually. Let's do that. Does it have the version? It's got the version there. Version. Nope. Okay. Getting started. Where's the getting started bit? Manual. Let's try manual. Getting started. 1 plus 2. So we can try Julia as a calculator. Oh, excellent. And answer must be a variable that holds the answer of the previous result. To exit the interactive session, type Control D. Okay, so that must exit here. Right. Now I use Windows Terminal on my setup to have the command prompt. So I'm going to open up Terminal, but alternatively you can open up PowerShell. If you're looking to do this on your own computer. So if I open up Windows Terminal, and if you want more information about how to install Windows Terminal, drop me a comment below and I'll get back to you on how to do that. So I've opened up the command prompt here. Let's see if Julia exists. No, Julia doesn't exist there. So how do we... That's no good. So what's happened here is that Julia isn't in the path for my PowerShell. If this happens to you, what I'd probably recommend is I'm going to try downloading Juno instead. Juno is the editor for Julia, and we're still on our quest to get to the Hello World output. So I'm not happy. Oh, wrong Juno. Juno editor. And open up the link for Juno. Flexible IDE. Okay, this is going to allow us to get a more. So the Julia prompt seems to just be some sort of calculator or script where you can put in some of the Julia code and have it evaluate. However, to get a real program done, we're going to need a IDE. So first install Julia, which we've just done, then download and install Atom. Okay, so download and install Atom. Hackable text editor for the 21st century. That's interesting. Wow, Atom's quite big. So as that's downloading, I do have Visual Studio Code installed on this computer. Though in some of my preliminary research on Juno, I was told that try out this, in some of my preliminary research on Julia, try out this Juno editor instead and see what happens. Because you can see from these screenshots look very nice. That you get this plot pane, you can get a big project list over here. Juno looks like it was built for Julia, whereas Visual Studio Code seems like you have to download some add-ons to get Visual Studio Code working with Julia. So I'm downloading Atom at the moment, and it's still going. Let's go back to this one. So after we, hopefully, it's going to, hopefully by installing a proper IDE for Julia, we can have a proper development environment for Julia. We can get something a bit more interactive rather than just the prompt, because now that prompt is gone, I don't know how to start Julia again. Of course, I could probably start Julia from the start menu like this, but I'd really prefer to use something that was integrated and built for Julia. So I'm downloading the Juno editor to try to do that. And it's nearly done. Let's see what's next, so that after we install Atom, we can keep moving on. So after installing Atom, we open up the settings for Julia. That's a control comma. And go to the install panel. We can Uber Juno. Uber Juno is an interesting name. I wonder how they came up with that. So we're opening up Atom to install now. It's probably a good thing that we left Julia to install in the default location, because that's going to help us. That means we don't have to change the setting in Atom once it's open. So open up Atom. Okay, installing. And I've never used Atom before. I believe it's a text editor. It looks like an interesting a hackable text editor for the 21st century. It has, what's teletype? Great things happen when developers work together. Okay, I wonder if that's some sort of real-time editing together. GitHub integration. One of the things I'd like to do is to publish some of the projects that I work on this channel, that we work on this channel, to GitHub, so that I can help you with the process of uploading a project to GitHub. The first project I want to try for Julia is to build a dashboard. I believe a dashboard is when I was doing data analysis for an airport company, building a dashboard was an important part of showing the different statistics, showing the different aggregations of the data that we were collecting. So that's my first objective with Julia, is to build a dashboard. So if you're interested in learning how to build a dashboard, hit subscribe, and that video should come along in a few weeks after I've gotten used to the language. So the next couple of videos, I'm going to share some of the features of learning Julia, such as I believe there's some quirks to working with the command prompt, working with that integrated development environment, the IDE. And I want to share some of those quirks that, as I'm learning them with you guys, and then I'm going to share some learning how to code with Julia, things like loops and if-else statements and variables and types. So hopefully, so those are the next videos coming up. And then after that, I'm going to go into building a dashboard with Julia. I'd really like to build a dashboard as a kind of summary of all the analysis that we're doing. There are also some cool maths features that I was reading about in Julia, that it can represent fractions. As a language, Julia can represent a fraction naturally. There's no need to define a fraction. There's no need to worry about any types. Julia can define a fraction and not evaluate it. So imagine 2/3. 2/3, usually a computer represents 2/3 as 0.666 reoccurring, but that's not, it's the reoccurring bit. Eventually the computer has to truncate the number, and that means that it's not exactly 2/3. Whereas Julia can represent the fraction 2/3 throughout all its calculation. It can also represent complex numbers quite initially. I come from an electrical engineering background, which deals a lot with complex numbers. Not that I've used them in quite a few years. I focus more on programming recently, but having a programming language that can work with complex numbers naturally is interesting. So hopefully this will be an interesting alternative to Python. I know a lot of data analysis is usually done in Python. I did some C# and Excel in my past data analysis life, but Python is certainly one that's popular for data analysis. So hopefully Julia offers a good alternative, some good alternative to Python. I've read that it's faster to evaluate than Python. It's a bit easier to do parallel processing, or I wonder if that means threading or if some other parallel computation style. But we're going to, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, stick around and I'll go into that more later on. So Atom looks like it's finally installed. It's opening up, and no, still not quite. Can I hit my control comma yet? Maybe it seems to be struggling a bit. Yes, here we go. Okay, so we do control comma, it said, and then we can look at Uber. If I just start typing, no, that didn't work. So they said in Atom, go to settings and go to the install panel. Okay, install. Search packages, and we go Uber Juno. Okay, we're going to install Uber Juno from the official installer for Juno. Excellent, the Julia IDE. So Juno is the tool that we're going to use to edit Julia code, create Julia scripts, and hopefully write Julia programs. My understanding of Julia is that it's more focused on scripting. It works well with Jupyter notebooks if you used that in the past. Hopefully, I'm going to try out Jupyter as well. Is this installing? Yes. Okay, good. It will take a moment. Hang tight. Installing toolbar. We'll let you know once it's done. It must be listening in on this conversation. Okay, excellent. So once Julia's installed, use Juno. Click the install button. Atom will set up Juno for you. Installing the required Atom and Julia packages. You may need to add the path of Julia if it's not already, so that's where we installed it. You should be good to go now. Try opening the REPL with Juno open REPL. That's the command prompt I was talking about earlier. Or Control J, Control O, and then press Enter to open. Let's do it the menu way. So we go Juno, installing Atom packages. Okay, we'll let you know once it's done. So does that mean it's not done? Should Juno appear up here? You can tell I've never used Atom before. I wonder what the settings is like. Settings, package added 2.5 seconds to start time. Okay, that's interesting. See setup for details. Settings disable. Okay. So where is my... Let's try the shortcut. Control J. Nope, nothing happened. Telemetry consent. No, I'm not keen to share that. Okay, so it looks like it's still... there we go. So it has install package, installing... Oh, right, okay. Oh, so it works with LaTeX. Interesting. That might be another possibility for a future video, to work with LaTeX. How Juno works, how Julia, Juno, and LaTeX all work together. As I know, LaTeX a popular way to LaTeX completions to show to represent mathematical symbols in reports. I know it's used heavily. I haven't used it personally since academia. So it looks like it's installing okay. As you can see, this is real time. I'm trying not to cut out bits of this video so that you can see how long it takes to install Juno, and get started to Hello World. It's not too long. Actually, what we can do while this is installing is to figure out, what was that? Slinking. Okay, figure out how to do our Hello World program. So it looks like, so we go back here, this Julia REPL, it's called REPL, is like we can use it like a calculator to do some simple arithmetic. We can do something more interesting. Okay. So what they're showing here seems to be from the command prompt. So not from Julia, this would be from the Windows terminal to execute a script with these arguments. And I imagine this -E flag is about executing the program in between. So this seems to be a simple program that prints to the program output the arguments, which seem to be these arguments. Okay, so that's scripting. But what's important here, what we can get from this bit is this print line function, which seems to take the arguments and print. Let's see if this is going. This might be going. Do we have our? Can we do Control J? No, not yet. So if hopefully this finishes soon. But if you're confused and this is happening to you as you're installing, don't worry, it happened to me. I'm sure we'll be able to get the installing Julia client. Okay, because it seems Atom installs these things a bit silently in the background. We don't get much of a progress display on what's going on. But it does sound like it's working at least. So what's going on here? So this is the basics of, okay, here we go. So we've got a simple startup. So, okay. So it seems that if you store a startup.jl script and simply run Julia in that folder, Julia will execute the code inside that startup script. You don't need to specify the script name. So that's the basics of running Julia from the command prompt. However, we're going to be running Julia from inside this Atom IDE using Juno, and that should mean that we have that command prompt appear, the REPL appear naturally to give us a starting point for the language. Okay. What else do we have? Resources, variables. Let's move on from that getting started and see if there's any direct hello world. Okay, because I'll talk about variables in a future video. Let's not worry about that. Let's just try to find our version. How print Julia print version. Okay, how to find the version number in Julia. Have we installed it yet? Control J. No, it's still not installed. I hope so anyway. I hope I'm not holding you on the video here waiting for something that's never going to happen. So what is the version info? Version info. Okay. Print information about Julia. So we just do, there's a constant version which has the version in it, or we can use the function version info. Okay, excellent. Julia client. You can specify the panes to be opened and their default location and splitting rule here. The command will install in case it gets messed up. Open Juno specific. Okay, I'm going to use Atom specifically for Juno and Juno specifically for Julia. So that means that yes, I can open Juno specific panes on startup. I have a different editor for my other programming languages, particularly Visual Studio Code. So this is what it looks like hopefully this is what it looks like when you finish installing Juno inside Atom, Atom being the text editor, Juno being the extension for the text editor for working with Julia. And we've got down here our REPL, and it says press enter to start Julia. Julia has exited, press enter to start. Julia could not be started. Okay, excellent. So if this happens to you when you install Julia, what I'm going to guess is that the path isn't set correctly. So let's do that. Control J, Control O. No, that still didn't work. Okay. So this Control J, Control O didn't work. So we're going to go to Juno, open REPL. Yep. Okay, that's my. Oh, we're gonna have to cut that out. So it didn't work here. So what we're gonna do is open our. Follow the instruction here. Try opening the RM Juno. Oh, okay. To do this bit, so packages Juno settings. So if you get this error about Julia not starting, we're going to go packages, Juno settings, Control J, Control comma, and we're going to do. It said something about Julia path. Ah, right. Okay. So I don't have the path for Julia set. And how am I going to do that? I think so I remember it was in here. Because remember, Julia didn't set a path on my command prompt. So we paste that in there. I'm going to change my username to Chris. Actually, what I might do. So it looks like I didn't have Julia installed in my path variable in Windows. So I'm going to go through my computer and find it. So I've managed to open up my app data folder in my users and go to local. And then I believe it's in programs. Programs, yep. Julia again. And then I want to open up the binary folder. Julia, the binary is in here. And this is what we paste into Atom. Okay, we'll delete that. So for most people, if you just follow the default setup that I did, what to type into this box is the C:/users/your username. So my computer username is Chris. Yours will be something different unless you know Chris as well. /appdata/local/programs/Julia hyphen and then the version number /bin. And hopefully that will be the correct path. Is there a way to save these or does it save automatically? And hopefully that will be the correct path to install. Okay, we need to put in Julia explicitly. So /bin/Julia. And then it couldn't resolve path. We tried to launch that. Let's try .exe. Okay. And we're hopefully loading. Excellent. So it's setting up the Julia environment. So just remember that it's app data local programs Julia hyphen version number /bin/Julia.exe. Now, I'm guessing that that's happened to me because I installed it without using any administrator commands. So the important one to remember here is feel free to copy this string straight from the YouTube video. It's C uses your username, app data local programs Julia hyphen version number. And that version number comes from all the way back here. If you remember when we downloaded, that version number comes from here. It's just released recently. Julia hyphen version number /bin/Julia.exe. So that's how to set that up on Windows. It'll be a bit different. It's whichever folder you installed it to when you installed the Julia downloadable, the Julia executable before. So wherever that ends up on your computer, need to add that into settings and Julia path. If you're having trouble with it, leave a comment below. I can do a separate video on how to do this on different setups if you're curious. Okay, so it looks like Julia's installing some of the, it looks like Juno, is installing some of the default packages to help us with running Julia programs, which is interesting. I didn't realize that I had to do this. So it looks like all these packages seem to be installed on GitHub. So you can look at the source code if you're curious what it's installing, and I imagine they're all Julia packages. It says 100%, but it's still not done yet. Okay, what are we up to here? We still don't know how to print our hello world, so let's go back to printing our hello world. And excellent, here we go. So there's Hello World. Hello World is the first thing I like to print when I'm installing something new, running a new running a new package or language, or starting with a new framework, just to make sure that there is some output that we can get. Because there's no point writing a huge program, get to the end, and then realize that the program doesn't output anything because there's some library missing. So it still hasn't done here. Pressing enter doesn't seem to help. Hold on tight while we're installing some packages for you. This should only take a few seconds. This video has gone on much longer than I thought, so sorry, bear with me for a bit. We're going to get our Hello World soon and our version printed. Customary phrase. It looks like Julia starts a lot of. It looks like Julia supports a lot of different languages as well. Human languages, that is, not computer languages. Using this UTF-8, you can type in Korean, or you can type in mathematical symbols, or this one is Chinese. That's interesting. Julia will even let you redefine built-in constants and functions if needed, although it's not recommended because pi does not equal 3. That's a bit okay. For example, oh, excellent. So you can type in, for example, delta. I'll talk more about this in the mathematical video I'm planning in the future, where it looks like you can use different variable names, such as Greek alphabet symbols, such as delta. Imagine gamma would be one you could define as well. And I imagine these things are helpful with Jupyter, where you're going to be showing off these things. It still hasn't loaded, which is a bit odd for me. What's supposed to happen here? Let's look at the Juno thing. Okay, so use Juno, press enter to start Julia. So that's what we've done. No wonder why it's not working. Julia doesn't work after an Atom update. Unbearably slow. Is that me? Is that unbearably slow? No, okay. Still not happening. So what's going on here? Why is it not working? I wonder if we can restart. Nope, Control C, Control D didn't work. What's going on here? Hold on tight. I wonder what happens if I close Atom. Oh, that seemed to work. So let's open up Atom again. I wonder if we open up Juno. No, that doesn't work. So we open up Atom, because Atom's the program that runs Juno. So we open up Atom. I wonder if it got stuck. I wonder if it finished what it was doing. So this is a new language, a new setup. It's not as mature as some other ones, such as Python's a very mature language. I was working with Python nearly 15 years ago. So a lot of Python tools are set up appropriately. However, Juno didn't seem to open. Okay. Yes, okay. So Juno is, like it said before, there was a 2.5 second time in Juno opening up. It can take a bit of time to open up Juno once Atom is open. So let's press start to start Julia and see how it went installing those packages. Oh, no, it's still going. It's got to install those packages again. Okay, so we're installing those packages. What I might do is cut the video and come back in a second when it's done. Okay, I'm back. I did a bit of research to find out what could be going on here, and it might be an option to run package.update in the Julia terminal. So I'm going to open up Julia, and let's see if this works. Package.update. Error. Okay. I think we have to switch to package mode, then package.update. Okay, how do we do update? Okay, so there's some problem with the package. It just says to type in update. Oh, update without the brackets. Okay. So we're going to update from Julia rather than from Atom and see if that helps. As you can see, it's changed a bit. I did a bit of research and found out that perhaps an alternative is to try updating from the Julia executable itself. So if this happens to you where your Atom gets stuck as you're installing, all I did was open up Julia. So start Julia and open it up there. Then I've switched to package mode using the square bracket here. So not the question mark, just the square bracket. And then I tried to update. However, the command is simply just update. No need to put in brackets or package.update. I'm trying it again to install from Julia rather than from Atom. And this is basically the same thing that we're doing before. And hopefully it doesn't get stuck. It's still stuck. I've done a bit more research. It looks to be a problem with Git. Let's try running as administrator and see if that helps. So I've got Julia running as an administrator now. Let's open up package mode and do update and see if that helps. So I have a feeling it's downloading the right files, but it's just not applying them properly. I'm not sure why it's getting stuck. After a lot of troubleshooting, we're back. Finally got this Julia prompt up into Atom. And as if you can see here, I've switched to version 1.0.5, which is the latest stable release. But what was happening was, the reason it was stuck, I don't quite know why it was stuck, but creating this registries folder, which is seems to be populated with lots of package names, Julia 1.4 seemed to get stuck doing it. So to get around that getting stuck issue, I installed Julia 1.0.5, then ran through the update. You can see it did all these things here, just as per normal. Ran through all these, just opened up Atom with the 1.0.5 version, and it seemed to work. So then I tried out the 1.4 version in my Windows terminal, and that seems to be working now as well. So the first thing I'll do is, I've currently got Atom set to the wrong Julia version. So I'll fix that up. I'll change this back to the right Julia version. And I've got to go into here. Just give me a second. So I found my Julia folder, and I'm going to set the Julia version here. Okay. And hopefully, now that should work. And we start Julia again, and hopefully it should be version 1.0.5. Now I did this before, so this shouldn't be a problem. It's checking all the package versions. It's checking everything that's installed. Atom's already installed on it, so Juno should be ready to go. Juno being the extension inside Atom. And this is taking. Good. Okay. I'm not sure why it's downloading this again. It was working just a second ago, but we'll let it run, and hopefully it won't take too much longer to run. Okay, this is the first time I've run the 1.4 inside Atom, and hopefully that's why it's taking a while. This same process did happen when I ran the 1.0 inside Atom. It was just a bit quicker. So we're on the 1.4 now, so we'll let it run through. What I believe is happening here is that it seems to me Julia is installing a list of all the packages on my computer, and perhaps all the latest versions as well. I'm not sure what's inside those. And now it's actually installing the Atom. So from that list of packages, it finds the Atom packages to activate Juno, and then installs those into here. Let me just clean up. You can see I did a lot of research to try to fix that getting stuck issue. If you have a similar problem, you can follow the way I did it was I came back to this download page. I downloaded as well the long-term support release, 64-bit, downloaded this one, installed it, and then in parallel, then ran the version 1.0.5 from Atom, and then hopefully, and then use the older version to update all my registry for the newer version. It's quite an effort. So hopefully you won't face the same problem when you do it. Hopefully the current stable release version will just work for you. And it's still pre-compiling. This happened last time, so I'm not too worried this time. So we'll close all of the research I was doing. Typically, when I run into a problem like this, I tend to Google the error message. However, there was no error message. It was just stuck. And the solutions provided by the Julia community were somewhat helpful. The issue might have been related to the Git version that I have installed on my computer, because I don't know how Git came to be installed on my computer. I did update it as one of the troubleshooting steps, but I don't know how it happened. So has Atom finished yet? No, still not. Okay. Let's go back to our first steps, what we're going to do, because the goal of this video is still to produce Hello World and the version. So we'll go to the documentation, we'll see what it says here, and hopefully manual getting started. We're still not here. We want this print line. We want to do some print line, hello world. That's right, it was in the variables. Still compiling. So we want to print hello world, print line. Okay. And I'm back again. Eventually it all finished. It probably took about, I think I had the recording off for about 5 minutes while the Atom finished compiling, while the Julia packages for Atom finished compiling. So we're finally at the step where we've got our Julia workspace here. We've got some code we can run. So let's do our hello world. Let's see if we can close that. Close the settings as well. Let's do our hello world. So I didn't look up the syntax. Let's just try this. So hello world string, hello world, excellent. And we've got, I remember there being a current version, how to tell the current version in Julia. I remember there was a version command, kind of like MATLAB's version info. There we go. So we try our version info. And excellent. So it's printed all details there of Julia, and you can see what sort of computer I'm using as well. So that's how you install Julia, Juno, and get ready to work. It's been a bit of a journey, but there are three key steps to installing Julia on your computer. Step 1, download and install the Julia package from the Julia website. Step 2, download and install Atom from the Atom website. And step 3, install Juno inside Atom. Installing Juno inside Atom will set up Julia as well on your computer. All those registry things will register themselves. And hopefully you avoid the blockage that happened to me.